This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 137 of the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network. Stud Duck. Winning! Please support our sponsors as they make this show possible.
Our title sponsor is Omega Alpha. You can find them at omegaalpha.ca. This episode is also sponsored by Equestrian Collections at equestriancollections.com. Plus Uncle Jimmy's. You can find them at uncle-jimmys.com. This is Glenn the Geek.
And this is Helena B., and you're listening to the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network. And boy, do we have a show for you today.
The title says it all today. We're talking about stud ducks.
Stud ducks winning.
And they thought
Stud
this show
ducks.
was about horses. And really, it's about ducks.
It's about stud ducks.
Stud ducks. So we have a couple of guests coming on later in the show to talk about a different kind of three-phase event. Everybody knows about the kind they have here in Kentucky at the Rolex, where it's dressage and cross-country and jumping. Well, there's also a different kind of three-phase event for a different moving horse, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. But first, Helena has... Your life's been interesting, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's funny being me, I'll tell you. Okay, so let's start out with, should we start out with the pie update or should we start out with the eye update?
I got to hear about the eye because, you've had problems on this show before because of your eyes. You seem to have this habit of sticking things in your eyeballs.
I do. I don't mean to do it, but my father used to say it's because I was left-handed, but I think I must be missing some kind of gene, that coordination gene. So I'm up this morning at 5 a.m., as I usually am, and I sneak down and I sit down at my desk, and I try to get some work done before the rest of the family gets up and the day starts. So it's really quiet. It's dark. I'm going through some papers. I'm getting a little frantic because I'm realizing that my to-do list is actually quite large for today, and I'm shuffling papers around, and I have this big stack of papers that's stapled together, and I go to whip it off to the side because I've just completed it, and what do? I totally nail myself in the eyeball with the corner of the papers.
Oh,
and I
like
give
in
myself...
The eyeball, not the lid, the eyeball?
In the gloop.
In the
gloop. The corner of the stack of papers, which is stapled together, scrapes my entire eyeball.
Ew.
So badly that I semi-passed out.
Oh, my gosh.
It was so sickening to me. Clearly I'm fine.
Yeah, that's kind of a sickening thought, just thinking about it, actually.
Yeah. Do you remember last summer I smashed my thumb with the hammer?
Yes, and then you also got poison ivy really bad, and you couldn't see. You were like all puffed up.
Well, I'm starting to see a pattern here. Apparently, when I hurt myself really badly, I want to pass out. Because I was like, oh, my God, I got to go outside.
Most moms do that when their kids get hurt really badly. You do it when you get hurt really badly.
Anybody else's blood and guts, I'm fine with. Crisis mode, I'm great. But myself, forget it. So I couldn't open my eye, and I didn't want to because I was afraid that blood would come gushing.
Yeah, the whole gouge out of it.
So for the next 3 hours, I just kept my hand over my eye, and my husband.
Is it okay?
It hurts still, yes. It hurts, but I can open it now, and I can see out of it.
Because I don't think they can do stitches in your eye.
No, I don't think the cornea is scratched because I can see.
Do you see everything has a little line in it?
No, I don't think it works like that.
Oh, just checking.
So it's pretty creepy, though. It definitely feels rough.
You made
inside.
bifocals out of your own eyeballs.
I'm the only person who needs to wear safety goggles in her office. Okay? Next thing you know, I'm going to be walking around with a helmet and a mouth guard just to go food shopping.
You're going to need your helmet on all the time.
I know. But I get on an Arab saddle Red Cross and hop down the road. No problem. That was the latest. Yeah, I took Fat Boy out for a free lunge yesterday in the field.
And how did that go?
It actually went very well. I think he just really needed to get, a full winter's worth of yayas out. And, he started to, he's very affectionate. He really does appreciate my presence. He really, really does. He just, I guess like any horse who's been cooped up for 6 months in the New England is going to get pissy. So, his attitude was much improved after screaming around the field yesterday.
So we're not selling him, or we're still selling him?
We're still selling him, because after all, he does kick out, which I'm not closing the door on it. I'm just quietly looking and talking. If the right fit comes up for him, fine. If not, I'm certainly going to keep working with him. I have much to learn from this horse. I just don't know what it is that he has to teach me yet. So I'm keeping my heart and my mind open and stepping outside of my comfort zone a little bit.
Well, one of our guests on later is a lawyer. Maybe she could help you with the divorce if it comes to that.
The divorce or the funeral. That's really what she's going to be doing, is helping my husband with my funeral. So that's what we got. And I'm very excited to bring my news of my adventures with the World Equestrian brands and the Amerigo saddles. I'm going to be trying Amerigo and Vega and a bunch of other saddles. So that is coming up because I do think that some of his orneriness has to do with saddle fit. So I kind of have to eliminate all those variables before I actually...
Before divorce?
Before divorcing my horse, yeah.
Well, and they always want a lot. They want like half your earnings. And oh, no, that's now. After you divorce them, it gets cheaper. Yeah. Especially if you end up with an Amerigo saddle. It will be half your earnings.
I know.
You're going to need to do 10 shows on the Horse Radio Network to cover that.
That's fine. I've got ideas. The only thing I won't do is ride cross country like crazy Kathleen.
All right. Well, we'll be giving you weekly updates on whether Helena sells or doesn't sell. That'll be the big question.
Dun, dun,
sell
dun.
or not sell. But now we need to get to our first guest, who is Carolyn Kenton, and she is out of Lexington here, or somewhere in central Kentucky, I believe, and she helps organize the three-phase event, and we're going to learn more about that. But first, we want to talk to you about our title sponsor, Omega Alpha. Dr. Chang and his gang up there in Canada make some of the most terrific natural supplements that you're going to find anywhere. And if the rest of the employees up there are anything like Dr. Chang, who we had on the show here a couple weeks ago, they just know what they're talking about. He is one of the smartest people, and they have put together some of the smartest supplements for anything that your horse might run into. We want you to stop by to omegaalpha.ca and check out all the different supplements, all the different products that they have for horses and what they can do for your horse. And I'll tell you what, we talked to him a couple of weeks ago. It just reaffirmed, our pride in having Omega Alpha as our title sponsor, because they just get it. They get what your horse needs, and they provide you the natural. And it's funny that we're talking about a natural supplement today, because we're also talking about a natural way of training a horse a little bit later on. So it's perfect.
Yeah, it's a good fit.
Yeah, it is. It is a good fit for our show. And we want you to check out all of their products at omegaalpha.ca.
I feel a little like a band coming out of Dr. Chang and his gang. I see this like milk jug band, they're banging on their supplement jugs.
I see him doing that too, actually. He's a nice guy.
Chang, this gang.
Well, thank you, Omega Alpha. And we are now going to talk to Carolyn Kenton about the three-phase event. Well, hi, Carolyn, and welcome to the Stable Scoop Show. I'm glad that we finally got a chance to chat a little bit about this really cool event that you have coming up in May, right?
Yes, it is.
All right, cool.
It's the
Tell us
21st and 22nd of May. This is an event that is sponsored by the Three-Phase Event Incorporated. We are a nonprofit organization that both presents the event and tries to raise money to support the development and of the treatment of gaited horses and the knowledge and experience that people have with gaited horses, since much of the world is not familiar with them.
Yeah, so you guys are really what you're raising money for is to the natural horsemanship way of training.
Yes, and specifically the natural horsemanship way of training in relationship to gaited horses, because in the past, gaited horses have received a poor press coverage about some of the showing training methods that have been used in some of the breed associations.
Yeah, they're not very popular with the rest of the world because of a few bad apples, right?
Exactly. And actually, over the last few years, the number of individuals who have been interested in riding for recreational purposes, specifically trail riding, have come to appreciate the gaited horse because they are a very smooth and comfortable ride. And many of the people who are using horses for recreation are somewhat older in the population, and their backs can't stand the jarring of the trot, and so they have found that the gaited horses are a nice way to extend their riding experience. And since many of the people who have ridden in the past came from competitive environments, they find it interesting to be able to have a venue for a competition with the gaited horses themselves.
Okay, now I have two questions about the event that's coming up. First, in going through your website and your mission statement, part of what you're trying to do is it basically enhance the competitive opportunities for soft gaited horses. What is a soft gaited horse? I'm not familiar with that term.
Well, when you tell someone that you ride a gaited horse, they say, "Well, I ride a gaited horse too. It's a walk, trot, canter." And so
that's true. When you think about it.
And so it's kind of hard to describe to someone who's not familiar with the even 4-beat gait of the gaited horse. And it is soft because you don't bounce. Technically speaking, the trot is a diagonal gait where the front left fore and the right hind are raised at the same time, and then the legs are switched. And in a soft-gaited horse, you don't ever have that switch and the suspension which causes the bounce, because each foot falls to the ground individually. And it's kind of like riding a horse that has automatic transmission. You go from the walk, which is the slow speed, up to a much faster speed without changing the footfall.
I'll tell you, I've ridden a Missouri Foxtrotter, and that was an awesome ride. Let me tell you, it's like being on a Cadillac.
It is.
A Jeep.
It is. We talk about ride the glide. I think that's one of the buzzwords for one of the breed organizations of gaited horses.
Well, I've always heard. I'm guessing then that soft gaited horse. When people use the term gaited walk, they actually mean soft gaited horse.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
As opposed to your walk, trot, canter, thoroughbred type.
Yeah, it's just another description to give some idea as to the difference between the quarter horse, for example, is a widely owned horse, and it's generally a trotting horse. Although you can have Morgan horses that are primarily trot horses, there are some Morgan horses that are gaited, and the American Saddlebred has gaited sections because the 5-gaited horse in the show ring is also exercises both the walk, trot, canter, and the slow gait and rack, which is the soft gaits that we're talking about.
I also learned, first horse I ever rode and learned to ride on was a gaited horse. And I thought they were all like that, at first. And then I got on a regular horse, and it was like, why is this one so bouncy? The other one was so nice.
That's right.
So why do these guys need their own 3-phase event? Why can't they just participate in the 3-phase events that
let's
for the rest
talk
of the
about
world?
before you answer that. Let's talk about what is a 3-phase event here. Is it's dressage?
Yes, it is. The whole eventing world is generally composed of a dressage component, a stadium jumping component, and a cross country.
Right.
And since we don't. Our horses can jump, but they are generally not taught to jump. we decided that we would initiate a competition where we used the same three elements, which is the dressage, the cross country, and a stadium performance activity, but we would substitute an obstacle course for the jump course, and we would then have obstacles on the trails, and the trails. The cross country is set out as though it were the obstacles that you would encounter in a regular trail ride. And of course, when we started this 5 years ago, the Extreme Cowboy competition was not had just started or started about the same time that we did, and the American Competitive Trail Horse Association had not really started by that time. And those are two activities that do have some elements of what we are incorporating, except that we put it all together into one package. And as far as the dressage is concerned, for many years, people who have studied dressage and competed in the dressage world have not thought that gaited horses could do dressage, and so gaited horses have not necessarily been trained in that discipline. But in fact, any horse can do dressage. Dressage is just a French word for training, and it enhances the ability of the horse and rider to move together.
So will you do? You won't do walk, trot, canter in your dressage test. Then you'll do
walk, gait, canter.
Okay.
But we can compete the horses. The gaited horses do canter just like any other horse, and they can be taught to canter on cue, and they can compete at the more advanced levels of dressage. And actually, there is one horse that started out competing with us, which is a Tennessee walking horse called Champagne Watchout, whose owner, Jenny Jackson, has competed him at the FEI level of dressage in gait. He was one of the featured horses at the World Equestrian Games, and so it's certainly is possible for these gaited horses to compete at the higher levels of dressage. They just don't do the trot.
Okay.
They do the gait.
There you go.
I was catching a clip of the video, the three-phase video, and it looks like so much fun. It really, the obstacle course and then the dressage ring looks like your typical dressage ring. So it's really kind of neat. Now, since you have a variety of different kinds of riders who are coming together to participate in this event, I'm seeing different styles. I'm seeing sort of that saddle seat, hands higher up, and then I'm seeing some trail people. So the rider styles are a little bit different. How does this event approach judging the different types of rider styles?
We have used dressage judges particularly who are broad-minded, open-minded enough to be able to judge the horse and rider and how well that combination performs together. We have not required the riders to dress in traditional dressage attire because many of our people have not competed in that environment before, so we allow them to ride in their show clothing in order to compete. And the judges are notified on their tests what the breed of the horse is, and so they have some idea as to what to expect as far as that is concerned. It is going to be, and it has been, a learning curve for some of our competitors as to what's required in the dressage, because that really is a venue that is not as familiar to the riders. The obstacle course and the cross country is something that is much more natural to the gaited horse people, but we are trying to encourage the riders to learn more about dressage and the benefits of dressage training.
That's actually really cool because, dressage is such a universal discipline, meaning it's riding patterns, and
Exactly.
it's a test of compatibility and training. And so I think, or at least the optimist in me would think that gaited horse riders and owners would really embrace it because it's a new challenge for them. And oh my gosh, I could totally see gaited horses really excelling in this arena.
The competition opportunities for people who own and ride gaited horses has primarily been in the show arena, and there are a lot of riders who have gotten tired of just going around in a circle. And the versatility aspect of the three-phase event has given riders the opportunity to have a very different challenge. And because
I love it that we're breeding a whole new phase of or range of people who will hate the dressage and love the other two. I love that.
Well, but it's kind of like ice skating where you had traditional patterns that you had to skate. Everybody maybe didn't enjoy doing it, but it did improve their ability to perform in the other elements.
No question about it, but us horse husbands have to watch it. So that's the other side of that whole story. Let's take a break for a commercial here, and let's get Penny Austin on. Now, tell us about Penny.
Penny is a rider and an owner who lives in Lexington. She has a Tennessee walking horse that's name is Stud Duck, I believe. And
what was that again?
Penny Stud Duck.
Okay, that's going to be a topic of conversation, I can tell.
And she learned of our competition a couple of years or so ago and has ridden and competed. She herself, I don't think, was the rider in the first competition, but her horses competed and very successfully. And she's very enthusiastic about the event.
All right, well, let's take a break for Equestrian Collections, and then we'll be back with Penny. And the first question, of course, is, how did her horse get the name Stud Duck? That's my first question.
All right.
Well, we're going to be right back here with Penny in just a second. But first, we wanted to tell you about Equestrian Collections. It's springtime. It's time to start the show season again, and you have all of that stuff that needs replaced, whether it's for you or for your horse or for your kids, or for your horse husband who's now taking up riding and costing you twice as much. You can find it all at equestriancollections.com. And for listeners of the Horse Radio Network right now, they have a coupon at checkout under the promotional code section. You just type in radio show, all one word, radio show, and you'll get 10% off or $10 off your next order of $120 or more. So that's radio show, all one word, in the promo section when you check out, and you'll get that $10 off your next order of $120 or more of any of the products of over 300 brands that you're going to find at equestriancollections.com. So do it today. The spring fashions are out, and you're going to want to be up to date and looking all smart for the season this year. And you can do all of that, as we said, at equestriancollections.com. And that would be how I don't look. I'm not looking smart. I'm not a good dresser. No, I hate shopping, and I'm not a good dresser.
Yeah, you need some help there.
I need some help. I do need help. Jennifer helps me with that, and it's a good thing.
That's what we need to do. We need to get on What Not to Wear.
That's right.
the horse husband's edition.
That's
what
true.
Not to Wear.
That's true. We need to make our own show.
If there's anybody out there listening, can you please call Clinton and Stacy and tell them that we need them? Glenn needs them. I need them.
Really bad.
We need a Horse Radio Network. Yeah, really bad. We need a Horse Radio Network. What Not to Wear episode.
The only thing I think of when I see that show is how much I could buy with $5,000 outside of New York and where I live.
I know.
How little they buy with $5,000 and how much we could buy with $5,000.
I know, but they do buy really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
But see, I would never buy good stuff because it would be trash. It would have horse spit on it in a week. No matter what you do, even if I just said I'm going from the house to the car to the restaurant, it would end up with horse spit on it.
That's right, because you would have to stop. Oh, on the way to the car to go to the restaurant, you'd have to just check the barn.
Or just throw a flake of hay.
Yeah, just that. Yeah.
Or double check that latch.
Yeah.
Then
you're accidentally
stepping
in the mud puddle.
What about getting in the car, which probably has horse spooge like somewhere on the door frame? it's just
And now you can't see because you whacked yourself in the eyeball with a
right.
sheaf
So I'm
of
half
paper.
blind. I'm half blind. I'm got like a $1,000 dress on.
All right, let's get back to our guests. Next up is Penny Austin, as we said just a minute ago. So let's get to Penny. Well, hi, Penny, and welcome to the show. Carolyn's been bragging on your horse, but I have to find out how a horse gets the name Stud Duck.
Okay. Well, I moved to Kentucky in 2006, and my horse was here already, and that's his registered name, and I assumed that there would be something in his lineage that kind of carried that through, but it's not. So he just he lives up to his name. Whoever
He quacks
registered
a lot?
him. Pardon?
He quacks a lot?
He can on occasion.
I've seen pictures of him. He's very regal looking, and I'm guessing that's where this. Does he think he's a stud? I mean, does he have a little bit of?
Oh, yes, he does. He
yeah.
absolutely does, and he loves water.
Oh.
Yeah, he no problem getting him in the water. It's getting him out of it that is the problem, and
hopefully you don't take a bath in the process.
Well, I have gone swimming with him on occasion.
Deliberately or not?
Not deliberately, no.
I'm looking at pictures. Is he black with the white on the forehead?
Yes, he's black, and he has a little. It looks like the Star Trek or Starfleet emblem. His star is shaped like that, and then he has a little snip on his nose and a milk mustache and a magic white left hind foot.
Well, then I'm looking at his picture. He is stunning looking, actually.
Yes, he is, and
really
he knows
is.
it.
He really, yes, he knows it.
He knows it and uses it to his advantage.
I think really this is my favorite name ever of any
I
animal.
know.
And his full name, isn't it? It's Midnight's Stud Duck.
It's Midnight's Stud Duck. Yes, he goes back to he has Midnight's son in his lineage, so that's where the Midnight comes from.
And he's a Tennessee walking horse, which is one of the, and Midnight Sun is one of the foundation studs, I think, of that registry.
Yes, it is.
There are so many bad jokes here, and
you're not
going to
tell one of them.
So
This is important stuff because he's really handsome and he looks like a nice mover too. And
yeah, he is very handsome. He has a whole legion of fans, many of whom make special pilgrimages just to meet him. But the interesting story about him and how that really kind of all fits into the three-phase event is, like I said, when I moved to Kentucky in 2006 and turned 50 in January of 2007, and I had always wanted a horse. And he was here in our community, belonged to another gentleman, and he was turning 7, I believe, at the time, and had been brought here as a 3-year-old. And the man who had bought him purchased him and a matching horse for he and his fiancée to do trail riding with. She had no intentions of trail riding, though, so he just became a pasture pet and, in his mind, retired at the age of 3.
in his mind.
Yeah.
That's usually how it works.
Yeah. So he chose me, and I purchased him and found a trainer, just a general trainer, to reacquaint him with basic, good horsey behavior and things like that, and was told by that trainer and many other people who followed that he was too old to learn anything new, that he would be, just a good general trail horse. And I didn't believe that. And I'm a very novice rider. So when I came across the three-phase event, I was delighted because it. One of the things about the Tennessee walking horse breed is that they're known as, a great show horse, and unfortunately, soaring and the big padded stacks on their feet is what that showing generally encompasses. And soaring's actually been illegal since 1970, still goes on. So the fact that there was a venue that promoted sound horses, sound-gated horses, and showed just how versatile they can be, just was wonderful. So, like I said, I'm a very novice rider and found a great young 17-year-old who, they bounce better than us old folks. And we started preparing him for his very first showing experience ever. And our goal for it was just so that he'd have a good experience and not jump in the judge's box or, do stupid stuff like that.
That's everybody's goal.
Yes, just to get something good under his belt, because
that's still Helena's goal.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's
my goal every day.
He had led a very sheltered life, from the time of 3 till I purchased him, because his routine, was stall to paddock, paddock to stall. And at any rate, the very talented young rider and Mr. Midnight Stud Duck came home with a blue ribbon in their division, and just it was fantastic. He did dressage, he did the stadium obstacle, and they had a very incredible cross country portion of it. He at the venue, you went down a hill and across a field, and then up a hill to the first check-in point, if you will. And it was a timed event, and they spent a good half of the allotted time just trying to go forward. He got down to the first big field and looked around and said, "Why am I here alone?" And he grew up here with some friends who were cutting horses, so he has developed some wonderful cutting horse moves, and he can do a 180 spin on you in no time flat. So they did a lot of that, and she finally convinced him, yes, you can do this. We've gotten this far. And it turned out to be the Charge of the Light Brigade, because they cantered and galloped the entire way. And he had just learned to canter under saddle 2 weeks before. So it was a great experience. And the folks at the three-phase event are just so supportive and of not only the competitors and horses, but the whole idea behind it. We have wonderful horses, regardless of which gated breed they are, and they can do anything.
Well, yes, and most of these horses are very calm in nature. They're not necessarily hot or nervous horses. They're ideally suited to go out and to trail ride. They are good horses for search and rescue, because they can travel long distances without tiring either the horse or rider, and can easily be acclimated to all sorts of different kinds of obstacles and situations. And they really are marvelous. Yeah,
I've heard they make great fox hunting horses too. Good
yes,
field.
They can jump.
Certainly, yes, they are jumping. And actually, the National Walking Horse Association, at their international show at the end of the summer, has approximately 35 different versatility awards at their show, including reining and jumping and dressage. Yep. So this is a show for registered Tennessee walking horses, and so they can do just about anything that any other horse can do, but they have the added bonus of traveling from one place to the other at that smooth, even gait. And they were originally bred to be ridden long distances with comfort for both the horse and rider. And in some areas, they still talk about the plantation horse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The plantation horse was used by the plantation overseer to supervise workers over vast acreages of land, and they had to get speedily from one place to the other without wearing themselves out. And the gaited horse was one that was used. And for those who are historical buffs, if you read the history of the mounts for the generals in the Civil War, almost all of those horses were gaited horses. So they have a long history of being good mounts for people to ride.
Well, and if you're in the trail riding business at all, or you love trail riding and you love trail riding for days and camping out and all of that, you're going to have a gaited horse. The reason we got our horse that we have now, our quarter horse, is that came from a trail riding family who switched to all gaited horses because they really got tired of riding non-gaited horses for days at a time. And
yes. And it is difficult if you're riding in a group with mixed breed horses.
That's what she said. She couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
No, it's the quarter horse that can't keep up.
That's what she said. The quarter horse couldn't keep up, so she needed to get a gaited horse so she could keep up with the gang. That's exactly why. That's exactly why she did that. Well, and I will have to say here before we wrap up that this year your venue is unbelievable. Helene and I got to spend a little bit of time together, actually, at Shaker Village, which is 20 miles south of Lexington, Kentucky, and it is an old Shaker Village, is what it is.
It's beautiful.
And it's sort of like a mini Williamsburg for people who've been to Williamsburg, where they closed down. It's its own little village. And you guys are having the show there. They have thousands of acres there, and it is absolutely beautiful.
I remember. Do you remember I said what a great place for a horse show?
Yes.
That was like the first that, you drive by, like you could drive across the country and you're looking at these patches of green grass along the sides of the highway and you're like, that would be a great place to gallop. Well, when I got to Shaker Village, the first thing I thought of was this would be a great place for a horse show. And voila.
Yes, it is. It's only been in development for about 40 years, I guess. They started restoring the village in the mid-'60s, and of course they've expanded the programming as time has gone along. The equestrian activities at Shaker Village have really developed over the last 10 years, and they're constantly making improvements. They do have stalling available for folks who want to come down and spend the night, and they also have day riding for people who want just to come and trail ride. So the facility is open for the public use in addition to the competition that we're having.
Yes, that's generally Shaker Village is where we go to trail ride, and Mr. Midnight is very happy to know that that's the venue this year because he's very, very comfortable there. There's tons of wonderful water crossings, and one of them has a rather deep pool. And he has been known to dive headfirst into that pool.
He's such a duck.
This guy. I really do.
He is such a duck.
What a character.
He is. He's to know him is to love him.
And does he like competing? Do you think it suits him?
Yes, he did. He really did. The first year you could tell, like I said, we were just, concerned that he have a good experience and nothing bad happened to him and come home in one piece, and didn't have any high expectations of him. But when he got off that trailer, he knew, and he had come to, compete. And it was really kind of funny because nobody knew us because, this was our first time, and folks would come back in groups and stand in front of his stall going, who is that horse? Who is that horse? So, and last year we had an interesting event. We learned it was last year was for us to learn, not him. We had taken his little friend Princess because they also allow non-gaited breeds to compete, and he doesn't like her. Okay, he doesn't like her at all. But because she was part of his herd, and that's in quotation marks, he became the stud duck and decided that it was his duty.
Had separation anxiety, didn't he?
Well, I don't know if it was separation anxiety so much as that is my horse, get away from her. He was totally unmanageable, and we had Princess's owner was the rider this year, and during the dressage test, I'm sure he got great marks on impulsion because it was, and He did all. I mean, that last year he all but jumped in the judge's box, and we withdrew after that. He just had fretted himself up to, being so concerned about other horses being near her, and so we learned a great lesson about.
Yeah, never bring the girlfriend along.
Never
That's
bring
right.
a girlfriend, and just it was really kind of humbling because it allowed me a glimpse into his psyche, if you will, of who he was.
Well, you know what? He's just like the rest of us.
Yeah.
Pretty much we're all the same.
So we're leaving Princess at home this year.
All right, guys, I appreciate you being on with us. The website is threephaseevent.org, where you can find out more information. And the show itself is coming up when again?
May the 21st and 22nd.
And that's out the Shaker Village of Pleasant Hill. And you can find all that information on the website as well. We'll put links to it on our show notes. And we appreciate you both being here with us.
Thanks so much for calling.
I want to meet Midnight Stud Duck. I want to be his friend. I want to go swimming with him. I want to laugh. I want to take
laugh every time I see you say his name.
Stud Duck. That's such really the best name ever. All right. So our thanks to Penny and, of course, Midnight's Stud Duck. And, before we move on to the rest of the show, I have to say a big, fat, warm thank you to Uncle Jimmy's brand products. Why? Because they make the best horse treats on the market. They really do.
Wait a minute. You had me concerned a little when you said big, fat, warm right after we were talking about stud ducks.
Stud Duck. Will you stop? Oh, my God. You go home. Wait, you are home. All right, fine.
All right,
Uncle, no.
Mute now.
And now we're going into Uncle Jimmy's with his licky things and his hang balls. This just is not getting any better.
That's why I said that, just because I want to hear you
my other eye.
I want you to hear you try and do this commercial now. This is perfect timing. Go for it, Helena.
Because I
really get serious now.
Okay, get serious. Uncle Jimmy's wraps his treats up in individual bags. They stay fresh, and they're squeezy. Those are my favorite. Those are my favorite treats because they are individually wrapped. They're made with really good stuff, all natural stuff, things your horse likes, things your horse needs. They're yummy. And
what are they called?
These are called Uncle Jimmy's squeezy things, right?
Squeezy buns.
Squeezy buns. You got me all messed up. My brain's all messed up. So Uncle Jimmy's squeezy buns. Those are my favorites. Then we have the licky things. Right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Licky things. That's the big. Then there's the hanging balls. Those hang in the stall, and actually those are really good for hours and hours of entertainment because it's hard to get the horse to get his teeth around it. So they do nibble and they lick it, and it's a great boredom buster.
And we will say that for all of you worried about your horse's physique, like my particular horse who has a habit of getting really, really fat, they have the sugar-free version of his hanging balls now.
So there's something for everybody. You see, that's what I'm saying is Uncle Jimmy's is they're considerate. They actually think about the people who are using the treats and the horses who are eating them. And so I think that I'm sure that if you go to uncle-jimmys.com and check out all the different kinds of treats that they have available on their website, I think you're going to be pretty pleased. And you'll find local tack stores and online catalogs that carry Uncle Jimmy's.
And
everybody
I know he was very proud when we saw him last that he made his hanging balls healthier.
Yes, he did. Yes, he was very happy about that. Really, honestly, people go out, just try them, buy a small bucket if you don't want to make the commitment. Not that they're very expensive. They're absolutely affordable. But if you want to try something new, definitely find something from Uncle Jimmy's, and I guarantee you your horse will love them.
Do you know how hard it was for me to hold back during that whole thing?
Yes, I do. And you know how hard it was for me to keep going? Uncle Jimmy, man, if I didn't love your stuff so much, I would have just let him blow the whole show up. Honestly.
Uncle Jimmy's going to be so proud and happy he advertised in that particular commercial.
You are lucky that you live in Kentucky.
I think if I did the show sitting beside you, I'd be getting hit the whole entire time.
You'd be getting pinched, definitely. You'd be getting pinched.
Oh, my gosh. Hey, we have a couple of fun shows planned coming up. Like, this one was fun, but we have more fun shows planned coming up for the Stable Scoop Show. And, of course, don't forget that Lena and I have another little show we do called the Tack and Habit Radio Show. And it seems like people are really latching on to Tack and Habit now and enjoying our little chats about stuff.
Finally.
Yeah, and we're getting a groupie, a fan club now over at Tack and Habit. And we appreciate that. And don't forget, you can find all of the shows that are on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com. I still do the Horse Tip Daily Show, where we do a little tip every day.
That's my favorite one.
And Horses in the Morning also. So one of the things that's happened with the Horse Tip Daily Show is it's sort of become the gathering ground. We have so many shows now, and we know people can't listen to all of them. I wouldn't have time to listen to all of them. So we know that, but yet there's always good tips and segments on the different shows. And what we've been starting to do is take them out of those shows and put them into Horse Tip Daily. So Horse Tip Daily has really become the catch-all place for all of the great tips that happen on all the other shows. Plus, we do new segments over there for that show as well. But I kind of like how that's happened, because that's one place where you can go, any of the tips on any of the different shows, any information that's really, truly worthwhile, we try and also put out on Horse Tip Daily. So it's sort of a collection of the different shows. You listen to Horse Tip Daily. I know you're an avid listener. We haven't talked about this, Helena. Have you liked that? Because I know you don't get a chance to listen to all the shows either. But
I love it.
Yeah, it becomes a gathering place for the...
It's because, you know what? It's short and to the point. It's like, okay, horse tip number 732, blah, 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 blah. Really? Awesome. It's short, it's to the point, and it's extremely valuable. And things that I would say, knowing Jennifer for as long as I have, and her encyclopedic knowledge of horse care and stable management, I didn't think that there was more to learn, but there is. And I get it from Horse Tip Daily. Yeah.
Well, I learned so much,
easy, and valuable.
Doing that.
My favorite one, what my favorite one was, and in fact, this one was from Jennifer, was how to prevent horses who walk the fence line from walking the fence line.
Oh, yes.
With the fence rails, with the jump rails. Yep. That was like the best idea ever. So effective. Yep. Simple, free. It doesn't cost you any money.
And coming up next week, we actually are going to be doing a series of tips where we've accumulated some of the emails we've gotten in with questions. Yeah. And Jennifer's going to be answering the emails. So we're going to do a series of tips where Jennifer is sort of an email segment. Where
the Dear Abby of...
Yeah, that's right. Sort of like the Dear Abby, where we get to answer some of the emails that have been piling up. And we apologize if you've sent emails. We're going to get to them here shortly over at Horse Tip Daily. And, of course, if you want to send us emails here at Stable Scoop with show ideas or whatever you want to talk about, you can go to stablescoop.com, where you can find the contact link right there at the top of the page. And, we would love to hear from you. Just can do that right there.
All right. And did you mention this? I don't know if you did, but I'm sure people know. For details about today's show, go to stablescoop.com. We will post links, photos, particularly of Stud Duck, and more information about our guest today. And we do love your feedback, so please follow us on Facebook. You can find us under Stable Scoop. You can also follow us at Twitter at Horse Radio, and I have been tweeting myself. You can find me at Helena_BEE. Many thanks to our sponsors, Equestrian Collections and Uncle Jimmy's brand products, as well as Omega Alpha.
All right, great. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back again next week, and I think that's about it for this week.
That is, and I think that's plenty, but there'll be more.